here and not able to pull them back up in time. Can't cinch the belt shut because they've already managed to take 2 points. That is not a good start as well with the spray down. Finding the player on the inside, that's your teammate. There they go. Find another one. Last player now to stand. Gods Reborn, yeah, they seem to not know what's hit them back.
Not at all. Again, to be fair, not dropped here for the last... tried to knife him. That was ambitious. But they've not dropped here for the last 2 days. I think it's maybe not what you're expecting. It's a little bit looser. Here's Team Demon, our team that loves to get stuck in early, and they certainly are doing that.
Yeah, and 2 of their players are getting stuck out right now because they have been knocked. 2 of them going down very, very low. Push is coming through, but they have managed to trade off with a couple of knocks over towards Epsilon Axe. Not getting flushed as well, and these are very resible at the moment. Reprioritizes over to the player with the lower health bar. Not going to flush it out, and this info is being pinged over by Epsilon Axe. Going to stick for 1 res, and Shops maybe able to find something. No, it doesn't have the nades, doesn't have anything really. This is an early fight. Something I was going to bring up earlier, Blank, is the Boars went to North George instead of staying onto the plane late and going Novo, and I bet they're regretting that decision now.
Yeah, I would say so. It's good to have a secondary drop spot, though, and they get out early, they get to loot early. Novo actually is not the best of drops in the world, just because it's not in the circle. You have to push Pharaoh towards that western side. Not always the greatest of positions to play when you're forced forward like that, and you have to worry about bridge camps. So, it's not horrible. But it does not go far enough.
Doesn't quite go the distance there. Urizada off in the distance up on high. That one's going to find the money. That'll happen if you step out into an 8. And Epsilon Axe will fall. Team Demon will have to play on as 3, though. And that is not ideal on a military island finish. You want to have your full force going at it. Team Rain made their way across the western bridge fairly quickly, Blank. They look to be holding up the west bridge camp. I don't think, funnily enough, on these Sosnovka circles, bridge camping hasn't been sort of such a main thing. The situation that happened in one of our previous Sosnovkas was that everybody on the north side of the island side, they all just camped each other out instead of camping towards the bridge. So I don't think I can really count that. So maybe Team Rain can get some value from this position where it wasn't really able to be found before.
Yeah, maybe. I think for Team Rain to get towards here is a bit weird. I mean, I don't know if you saw earlier, but they were 2-2 across the bridge. TBSS got there before them, and still yet they lost a player, sadly. So for TBSS, that's an unfortunate result. Team Rain was a little bit quicker. I think they left 1 player behind just to loot up a little bit further, which is fair. There's not a massive amount of loot available to you down towards this south side. Again, for SWAT Europa, actually would have been fine to drop yellows. They could have swum, which would have been completely reasonable strategy. But there's a little bit of revenge at the start of the day. It's a funny one. Especially for Gods Reborn, who are trying to hold on to a 3rd place spot. Like, I would be hella annoyed if I was Gods Reborn right now.
Yeah, that's a real stick in the craw. Holding that 3rd place spot, yeah, that's a bad time. I mean, the Boars and Hatyara crew are pretty chuffed about that, right? Because it just means that the Boars are technically still a lot more in danger than our other rosters. But that is like stretching the truth. It would be very difficult for them to go down. But like, you're just again removing those possibilities time and time again, and that is how you make yourself feel secure. Although they weren't the ones to do it, they're going to be happy that Gods Reborn have gone down.
Yeah. I do want to come back to your point from earlier, where it's saying that they were a bit upset not being able to go down to Nova up 9. I think that I would say that I would agree with you. I mean, it's good and well having a secondary drop spot you can get out early, but it is a frustrating one not being able to drop in Novo. But they did manage to avoid a hot drop, right? In Nova up Noia was 17-15. That could have gone poorly, and for Boars, what we want to see from them today is no lost chances. There was multiple times yesterday when we were watching the balls and they had these great times where they could have maybe pulled a little bit closer towards Hatyara and we had this neck-and-neck performance towards the end of the day. But those few chances were kind of let go. You can't really blame them too much. This has been a monumental effort just to keep up. But yeah, there was a chance for them. It would have required them to be on point all day yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, they are, again, just doing really, really well. Like 49 points, getting a 70, near enough a 75 average on each day is pretty impeccable. And again, it is all just massive asterisked by Yarakru's performance. So you can't discount what the Bulls have been able to do, even when there's been such a terrifying force within the lobby. Alpi, at the moment, they've lost one player. Havoc is dropping with them in Ferry Pier, and they want to keep this fight going, it seems. Havoc have managed to keep all of their players alive so far, and they have got 4 players very close by to this one. Teams starting to make their way in. Out to the east side, nearer the bridge on the mainland, is Hatyara. Ooh, a nice bounce on the nade there from Musa, though. Off the side of the window, we'll be able to find a knock. They are going to be looking to try and hold this one out. Diminished in forces, but plenty of firepower behind them. Jakey able to do a lot of damage and more through the smoke with the DBS. Charging down towards Havoc. They want to keep their player alive, keep Cappuccino in. They aren't going to pursue down the stairs. They're not going to get over. Musa is spotted, and they are, again, losing more and more for Havoc. The flushes start to come through.
This is not a comfortable spot to be in at all. Smoke goes down. That is going to obscure quite a bit here, but that's not a terrible angle coming through from Jakey to try and deny that. But now it gets a little bit more difficult. This fight will draw to a little bit of a slow. We haven't really talked too much about the circle, but we kind of have to. It is down to the south side. It's so far down towards the south side that it goes out of the border of the map. Don't think I've seen that very often. Alpi Esports currently getting completely dismantled by these nades. It's going to take an absolute huge effort now from Abito to keep this under wraps, and it's just not there.
It's not going to work out for them. In the meantime, Hatyara seemingly lost player. Yeah, Loco has gone down. Did manage to get picked up. I think he tried to send a cross against Rain. And that did not work out for them. So Rain are going to very valuable bridge camp now, especially with this circle. I mean, you talked about how dramatic it is on the south side. There's about maybe 30% of this circle playable right now, which is crazy. We're looking at sort of stage 4 and 5 territory with the amount of playable terrain. And when you consider that so much of it is the runway area of Sosovka military base as well on that eastern side, you're getting down towards like the mid-20s in terms of percentage playable.
It's hard. It's going to be very, very hard. A lot of our teams are going to struggle to get into this one. I think it's the sort of game that ends early. Again, I'm also concerned that we're not going to see much swimming going on, which I think is absolutely a viable strategy at this point in time. Yes, you can grab some bows and stuff like that, but for some teams, it is going to require a bit of a swim in. Like you said, John, the very northern edge of this bridge camp still being available, you don't want to have to go for this one. And if you do go for the bridge push, it's going to be halfway through stage 3 before Team Rain starts giving up this location. It's very tough right now. So Hatyara trying to get across. They do lose another to Dakimi. That's Lazzy, so there's 2 players will be making it through in Calais and AZM, but both these players had incredible days yesterday just as duos alone. So hopefully they can replicate some of that here now.
Looks like they're trying to gather info as to whether there's anyone on this coastline. If they go too far south, they're going to run into everybody. We know how much this lobby likes to play on the south side. You can see they're lining the edge there. We're not going to stop the water gameplay here. If they could get up more to the western side, it seems like they've scouted that out. They should be able to get up and actually play in a really strong spot. It's unfortunate they've lost 2 players because Hatyara would be in one of the prime locations on this one. Ritzy, not so lucky. They're trying to move on through, but they hop out and instead take the gunfight. It's going to work out, but they do have to trade with 2-pack going down really out in the open here. Oh, Golden Guardians could just crest that ridgeline, maybe be able to take a lot more damage over towards their way.
Kodiak doing a huge amount of work over towards SWAT Europa. They still have 4 players up. This is in Pachinki. I don't know why SWAT Europa is still up there, but they are locked in place. Ritzy Scythe will go down for some more shots, and SWAT Europa is out. Complete wipeout there from Kodiak. Meantime, Ritzy is taking a huge amount of damage from their side, down to just 2 players now. 17-15 continues to pressure them. This circle likely will head back north side, right, over towards stage 4, away from that water. So the compound, well, the building that sits on top of the hillside, and the couple of buildings that sit a little bit further down towards the west of that, those spots are really good to take, and there is no teams in them right now.
I think in terms of decision making, this circle is actually probably kinder than if it had stayed more towards the mainland. Because so much of the military base would have been in play. It's a really nasty place to go. So even though the decisions might not pan out for you, they are fairly clear. The Boars making decision after decision, and it's seemingly going well for them. They are still out in the blue, but they're taking these fights. Matt going very, very low, doesn't really have the time to stop and heal, and he won't be allowed to do so. The Boars shut them down. 4 elims found. They are on the east side bridge blank, and nobody's going to hold them out. But do they have the medical supplies to be able to tick this one over? It looks like they do. They should be able to survive. Don't let the play zone fool you. It is still only stage 3. It's survivable, but they do have to get a move on.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very survivable right now. Like I said, stage 3, halfway through is likely when teams are going to be making their way across this bridge. But I think there's a big chance here that Boars could just sidle in over towards one of those buildings I was talking about earlier very easily. They'd have to do it with absolute reckless abandon, but I think that's possible. I think it is possible, if not for Kodiak already just sending directly through and Team Rain having almost nothing to say about it. How has that happened, actually?
They just allowed them through. I mean, it looks like they had a good thought of like, oh, let's set up around the bridge, and then didn't really set up very well around the bridge. So Team Rain,
it's also
despite having
late
4 players, have now let 2 teams go through basically unscathed at this point. And now they're just going to have to give it up. So really wasting time on the north side and not getting the reward that you would expect for it.
Okay, so we're actually head back down towards the south. That's surprising. Didn't expect that actually from the circle. You'd assume this would move way further towards that northern side, but it's not the case. So Kodiak, although they were able to immediately get a really strong position, TBSS actually are in the driver's seat for this game, despite only having 3 players. Boars trying to make their way through versus Team Demon, but it's not looking too hot right now. Only 1 player left alive, and it is Robs. Hot pursuit is Team Demon. I think Boars are just going to try and get Robs a little bit further in.
He might be able to get the res there if he can find some cover, find a little bit of respite. Ritz might be on the hold to help them stop the players coming on through from Demon. AZM gets clocked in the meantime as we hop over to the coast side. That's another player going very low for Yara Crew. But Havoc do lose one as well.
It is so difficult to deal with that, especially if the team do head out over towards areas of the map where there is no buildings. 7-15 could easily get themselves a decent back of that. Kodiak holding out Ritzy, who did a huge amount of damage over towards Team.
Now it's just Crispy. The top frag of all the roster on Ritzy. Now he's got his work cut out for them as 4 players from Kodiak descend on him. He's not going to be able to find an answer to it. Will fall down. Ritzy eliminated on the northeast side. Our coast solo for Yara Crew is still in the fold. Could actually be a thorn in the side for Havoc and TBSS, as well as Boars still with their solo representative Robs making it out of that military base, making it out of the airstrip and into this next circle as it shifts up northward.
It's a bit of a freebie. Sort of the back-to-back freebie here for TBSS. Get yourself the compound of Miramar yesterday and you grab this one now. But it is a good compound, especially on this circle. It makes sense to take it early, and they did. They got across the bridge. They were playing down towards the south side. Yes, they get here with 3 players, but investing 1 player to what is quite literally the best compound available to anyone, and is a winning position, I think that's totally fair.
Yeah, I think that's fairly safe to say. I think with 4 players, it would be 20%. With 3, a 75, maybe an 80, somewhere in that sort of ballpark, but still very, very convincing. This south side's going to heat up as well as deep. Going to try and hold with the duo. Linearizing this fight does somewhat assuage the numbers disadvantage that they'll see. For Golden Guardians, they also have to worry about 17-15, who are down the hill from them. So a 2v4 currently unfolding on this south side. Robs is going to have oversight on it, but I don't think he's going to want to get stuck in when he knows that there's so many players to get through. It's just not worth it at this point. Let them fight it out, play for the placements.
Yeah, that's exactly what they want to do here. Calais is currently in the most amount of danger because he's going to have to wrap all the way around, and you start wrapping on that position, there's moments where you are completely visible to squads like Havoc. But I do think that Havoc's also in this situation want to keep their heads down as much as possible. So whether they actually take shots over towards Calais, we'll wait and see. Ross will pick himself up 1 elimination, at least, over towards 17-15. Catches out Hayward, and that's probably the best pick-off he could have found, because Hayward right at the back of the queue on that eastern side, which means that he was the one who's going to put the most amount of pressure on Robs as an outside force.
I mean, they were probably more preoccupied with the Golden Guardians, though, on that coastline, and now with 4 players on that south side, it's pretty tricky. They go forwards, and actually they do lose a player. They are going full send here. Golden Guardians want to try and slice straight through Demons, and they will be able to do so successfully, but they lose player 1 in the process. TBSS, they know all about it. You saw those gunfire lines lighting up that minimap. They're still pinging in the rounds over towards the players further back for Golden Guardians. 17-15 now, can look to try and move in behind them. Whilst TBSS stop the Golden Guardians dead in their tracks moving forwards.
I mean, 17-15 struggling though. They're down the face. Never a fun place to be. There is areas where you can climb up, but there's going to be a lot of slipping and sliding there. But
I think the 77 just peeked out too wide by a sliver and went down for it. Might not be confirmable, and actually 17-15 down the hill now are very much known. Xenos moving around the headland there, though. Looking to get a little bit further along the coastline, closer to this next circle, which is just about to show itself. There's water still in it, so it's still a swimmable final circle. Do you, if you're Calais, play into the water at this point? That might be the most viable option for him.
It is very visible, though, on the southwest side. But it is like, you get to that point where, are there many options left? Are there many options left? The boat is not a bad play, actually. I don't mind the boat. You set that up to create something that you can hide behind, but he's going to have to heal before making that gambit.
Yeah, drops down low. Knows he has more cover out in the blue zone. Knows he's got a little bit of healing. And knows that that's going to be no use in the water later on. So spending that resource now. I don't think he'd go out for the boat. It would just draw so much attention. The Golden Guardians would immediately destroy you. But Kodiak, I mean, okay, on the mainland, right? Kodiak versus TBS is kind of the main standoff in my book right now. Kodiak trying to probe in towards the compound, but haven't really found success. No sightlines being overexposed for TBS, which is well disciplined. We'll hold off. Will crash if it comes. I thought, okay, I'm gonna just switch BOVs to Xenos.
There was the top of it because a little bit too long. Kind of finding the Frizio, which is good, but this is what I'm worried about is the TBSS. Yeah, it's like I said, this is where it starts to get a little bit impossible to move. It's so good. These teams was earlier on for 17-15. They couldn't make any use of it. But here is where it is extremely important to have. Annoying for Boars, though, I would say, where I think Rob's, you would assume he thinks he's played a blinder here, trying to catch up towards that Yara crew. The fact that they're still in the game is fairly annoying. I think for Boars, sort of want to down really soon. Really, really soon. Ideally, they would down in 6th place. That gives a lot of breathing room for boards to kind of profit over the top here.
It's very likely, though, that Calais does get shunted out by this next circle shift, which will show us in about 3 seconds as to where it's going to go. So likely he has to move out. Yeah, it's going to go all the way south.
Oh,
so Calais has to move. Oh, that's true. Okay. He's very happy about that. He's been helped to play the blinder with the little assist there from the circle. Havoc definitely know that Calais is here. They have absolutely 100% certainty that there's a player down the cliffs there, but they just don't quite know where. So they're going to have to keep their wits about them. Fortunately, no one really else is a threat, so they can spend a little bit of time on covering off their back flank at the moment. Moving in, though, I think that might be a little bit too tall of an order for Zinc. He's going to be fully spotted out by TBSS as soon as he starts moving.
It's a hard position to play in. I think Havoc know that there is likely a player down there. I don't think they know exactly where he is, though. Calais going to start the swim, like we said before, see how far he can get out. Just wonder how many teams are watching this angle. Imagine Golden Guardians would take a little bit of a peek over towards this, where at least just check it. It doesn't seem like they're doing that either.
I mean, they're way more preoccupied about TBSS, and I mean, you kind of can't blame them. They have to make a move somewhere, and are you going to cover off the player sort of slowly solo trying to survive, or are you going to try and make inroads into a potential rotation? They're not covering their flank. They are playing with 3 players, though, so potentially a little bit more sensible to think about the inland spots, and they're making their move. I think they're moving out towards Rob's, maybe looking to try and take his little defilade here. Will he be able to hold on, or are the boards going to go down before Calais does? They do, in fact, fall. Blank top 5 now for Calais. They've only got 1 Elim, but he's managed to sneak around underneath the noses of Havoc. Maybe the Golden Guardians are going to give him some more freedom on their coast side, with Kodiak losing another player. That's now top 4 for Yara Crew.
Yeah, well, I mean, for Calais there, I think he's as surprised as I am, where he's drowning himself to get into this court, but I don't think there was a single player looking over towards him. I think he was extremely safe. I think he's not even attention LA right now. If I am completely honest, I would not be too surprised to see a 3rd place come through from that Yara Crew.
I'm pulling for 2nd. I reckon. This shift is nasty, though. The Golden Guardians get help here, and TBSS are going to have to make a move. Get rid of the players from Havoc, and then turn your attention to the outside here. Have they been able to really do too much? They've only got 4 Elims so far this match, Blank. So far, with a 4th place, that doesn't really read into the power of the compound that they've been given. They're gearing up the vehicles. They're looking to start to use that cover on the outside. It's all going to be on utility here. All on the smoke cover, all on sort of hard cover they can start to make their way towards. Calais going to have to try and scramble his way up the cliff there. The players from Havoc as well going to have to move.
I mean, Golden Guardians, you say they got thrown a bone. It's very fair to be on. Not taking too many aggressive things out because there are a lot of sight lines around you, and it's 3 players. Not really a 4. They're not going to flush. I don't think they've done a bad thing here by holding this out. You just would. This circle has been all over the place. The fact that it doesn't keep and Calais will find them over towards Havoc. Luckily, 77 does have his head on a swivel.
There you go. 5 points on the match. They place 4th, and Yara Crew will be down now. It's TV. The Golden Guardian. All 2 ready. 1 knock, 1 flash. Sneak it in. A little bit longer. Hopefully TBSS, their candle might burn out before them.
Place and Zinc actually slowly crawling through into this circle. Gets 2nd place off this one. Actually a first, but dealing with this hardcover that QWERTY has is very difficult.
I don't think they've spotted him. I mean, 77 was taking a look at the rock that Zinc was hiding behind. Now with that smoke cover, he's just not spotting him. Zinc is looking to get to cover. He's isolating a fight. The res might be coming through here, though. Hoxie is in a reservoir position. 77 broadside. Spotted. Knocked. Looks for the flush. You definitely commit for this flush as well. And now QWERTY's going to be worried. Can start to put nades over towards this tree, though, as he's going to be forced out by the blue zone. Has to go for the peak, but the res is just going to get stuck. Zinc, yeah, he's going to deny the point here. Havoc are going to go down. Golden Guardians fall, but a point given over to Havoc in the final moments there. A chaotic Sosnovka, the 3rd that we've seen so far of our Erangels in these finals. It has been pretty brutal on the grassy pastures for so many of our teams, but the Golden Guardians are able to close it down with a 10.
It's been rough. The amount of circles ahead of Sosnovka there, that's also a really disgusting set of circles that occurs as that game unfolds. You almost never see it head down that way, right? Because whenever we see those circles, we always talk about, okay, well, for Golden we would need a southeast hard shift into another southeast hard shift to keep a tiny little ridge line still in that they can play off the back of. What happens is now they're going to have to run across open ground. That actually doesn't happen, and they get sort of the miracle run there in terms of circles, and TBSS forced out of that compound, which is pretty much a free win. So I think I feel most bad for TBSS because I don't think they played that game badly. I think they confirmed onto a good spot, and the circle sort of steals their win.
Yeah, and they don't really get too many points for it. They didn't get the most at all. I think it was 4 elims that they were able to close the game down on. So very much not an ideal result for the position that they held. But they still do get a little chunk in there. Golden Guardians, happy. 20 points is going to see them a lot better in that race for third place. I think they might be able to jump up on will be either our third or fourth team who was able a couple of points match to break free here. Finals are is hot coming from Guardians.
See, 4 elims, 580. Honestly, for Golden Guardians, I think this is a good team because, funnily enough, they actually did a lot right here. I think for Golden Guardians, I think that the way they played it out was really, really well done. 581 damage, but they were the team taking shots at absolutely everything that moved, right? They were trying to put as much damage into teams as possible to ensure that they were going to have a strong end game. They were the team shooting the hovercraft. So I actually, although I do think it's a little bit of a stolen win away from TBSS, I think Golden Guardians set themselves up correctly in every way for that miracle shift that comes their way to win the game.
Yeah, they played it fairly well in towards those final circles, and obviously coming out the victor there. I mean, that south side looked like it was just going to get so messy, but 17-15 went down with a little assist from Robs as well out in the open. The players ahead of them just couldn't quite stand up to act. Just wasn't really great stuff for that and lose minimal players in that situation. 20 points is earned for it. Havoc on 12 and Kodiak with 11, which is a little bit of a return for form, and they may also have just about, no, I think they're just shy of breaking that century as well. Still way to go, but that third place podium rages on.
That it does. Everyone's going for this spot. I do think we got to talk about one team in particular, and that is Gods Reborn, who I think have been kicked off that third place position after this match, getting 0 points there after a nasty little hot drop over towards them from SWAT Europa. And we do get a little bit of a switch up on the overall top players here, with Frizio making his way back in. Crispy drops down towards 5th place, but other than that, not really much change from them. But it's always nice to see something different within Yara Crew.
Is it going to be Factor Zada, or is it going to be one of the 2 Yara Crew players? That's sort of the game we're playing right now every time this slide comes up. But yeah, you're right. It's good to see some new faces because from the previous stages. Work for the roster 20 as well for the team. But they are themselves and say that they don't have a lot of vertical mobility, though, because Golden Guardians do take that place mantle with 105. That is 8 points above Kodiak, so very much slim difference there. What is really satisfying about this page is that the chicken dinners from the top go 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm quite happy about that.
That is very satisfying. But this is the 2 other teams now breaking the century, which is cool to see, especially on that third day, getting 105, 101 there. And that's Gods Reborn dropping in towards 5th place. But it is a very tight margin here for third place with 105, 101, 99, 97. And TBSS make their way onto the first page. Oh, hey, goodness me, well done to them. Venturi Mortem dropped down towards 9th place. It has been a tough finals for them. Knockout stage. In the meantime, let's take a look at some highlights as we head to a quick break before we get into our next match.
The possibility. I mean, of go on. Actually, why not? That would be quite something. I don't know how far apart they are. Is there law for how far apart they are in the world? I don't know. I don't think so. I'd have to do some real deep diving as to what it is. I reckon you could probably do it based on angles of the sun and things like that.
Not the sun again. Can we not bring up the sun again? What is it with you and the sun?
We bring the sun up every day. It gives this planet life. What you shunting the side away? You want to put a shade over the sun? God, goodness me.
Dear me. I feel like they're parallel spaces. That's why, right? And it's like the Bermuda Triangle. You don't really know what's out at the time. We passed through it, but we'll never know. So if it's space. But we are going to the next match.
I think it must be the unknown spaces.
Yes.
To get all the way up there. Potentially still time to get up towards El Azahar on that eastern coast rotate, but maybe. We have seen a couple of teams heading up that way previously, but I wouldn't be too surprised to see some backup drops come through now.
Map. We've playing past throughout the entire. There have things to work out, and it's almost amusing though, because I do think that if you're playing at this level and you're looking for experience, this is probably the best tournament to do it in. I think that when you look at Sosno, it's funny, much improved on it so often. We've got to figure out, okay, what's the plan here. I do think that was a big problem yesterday. Teams plan if we get one, I'm just going to deal with that.
I mean, there's no point fighting here.
Like Team Demon, to be honest with you, I think Team Demon is not the when it gets an engagement early with, because these fights are the bitter end, and a lot of times, usually, friend for them at the match. If they do go down, likely they'll take one or two players down just because of the way, which is very reckless a lot of times. So I think for that Yara crew, they're just like, well, there's all the way on the west side. Maybe we just go for some vehicles. Bit of a run for them, though.
It's interesting at the moment, Yara Crew's last, say, 4 matches that they've been in, including the first one today. It feels like they haven't been able to find what they were before, and I question whether or not they're resting on their laurels because of that. Or is it that other teams have read into them, right? Is it the fact that other teams have had time to study their moves, to get used to how they're playing within these circles and or is it that they've let their foot off the gas because they haven't had the same amount of pressure, despite being so far ahead of the rest of the lobby, which they're able to achieve through the first day and the start of the second day.
Yeah, a little bit. First, in the meantime, we're just looking at QWERTY. Actually, it's just throwing a little bit of salt in the wound, right? You know, you lose that match to Golden stuff. More circle shifts. You've never played the Golden Guardians once again right at the start of the next game. It's like the fight never ended. Taking through Picardo, it's a bit of a wasteland, right? Always the easiest thing to do, but there's plenty of really good spots to take on this western side of the map. A lot of nice high ground that sits around El Pozo, Monte Nuevo, some compounds there too. So what you're imagining happening is that it's slowing a lot, mostly just because teams are looking to pick up as much as possible in terms of loot lines before they get a move on. This is not the case for Kodiak and Ritzy, though.
They're happy to get stuck in. Ryan, think of it. Ritzy at the moment, seemingly in the driver's seat of this fight, because it's not just Frizzo standing against 3 players from Ritzy. But in the town like this, it is easy to find those solo peaks. But you do need to find second. I thought it was just a slip away from him there, but he's got a couple more rounds left in the chamber. 20 ammo in the clip. Has to look for the reload darts back and away. Kodiak putting in a shift to try and keep this one going. He's actually done a lot of damage to the opposing team here. Safe, not committing for the heals yet, only just starting to go through, and Aim God has also just heal. This nade could be good. It finds it. The heal come through, and that's another knock. He's going to get his teammate.
And you know he's going to be going for the rest of that. That was such a silly bounce, by the way. I don't know if you quite got that there, John, but it bounced up and to the side. It's like, what are we looking at there? For Kodiak, they need to be quick. If you want to get their other player back up on his feet, got to be fast. He's mending a lot right now, which is great news, but Kodiak's in a much better position to get their third player back up here. 20 just needs to buy time.
Pushing close, Frizzo. They have to stop the res and the corner, but he's more than up. 20 descends from up on high over the back of the RV. Going to need more than a spare tire to patch that one over. Kodiak able to turn the tables around. Really well played by Frizzo.
Yeah, it's a fair Ritzy. You have to go for the 1v1. They're in a way better spot. Okay. Go for the third. I beg.
That was a crazy spray. Just the immediate 1-2. Yeah. From the M249 onto TVSS. I mean, there's a reason Calais is so high on those tables.
I mean, what's coming through from Loco? But
oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, we switched POVs. I was making things up. Okay.
No, that's so good.
It confused me. But to be honest,
okay.
what TVSS are going to be pretty confused.
To me,
having a good time.
French humor, guys.
Yeah, is that real? Does French humor exist?
Yeah, I would say so. That's how my friend uncle decided to feed me a whole onion, and I just thought that was normal. And then he laughed at me, and then said he was going to chop it up and put it in a sandwich.
Oh dear. That's
a hilarious little joke from my French uncle.
I mean, it's pretty funny. But it's more funny that you ate.
And we were up.
It doesn't count as a situation. You're
22.
Okay, all right. Yeah, sure. Kodiak on the east side, 18 or something. Facing off against Team Demon. It's not going well really for either of these two teams on the east side. They need to get chewing their onions here because it is unpleasant for both of them. Getting caught out. 2 players down for Kodiak. It looks like 2 down as well for Team Demon. And they're just going to try and pepper pot their way forward. But the nades are keeping coming. And the spray down potentially onto Carlos. He's got his car right now, but it may indeed be a loss of that car. He has to hop out, has to go for the res. I don't think he's going to be allowed to do it, though. The pressure is on. The nades are still being pinpulled over on the left. Frizzo's going to move under the cover of his teammate in through the window. Nearly blasts him back, but Carlos stays. The bullets are starting to... And he's going to have to put up a hell of a defense. Not going to happen. Demon go.
I think Frizzo's got a little bit of a new lease on life here. A bit crazy on these games. There's a lot of action happening over towards the central side of things with Havoc, Alpi trying to make their way in. On the eastern side, you got 17-15 also here. Oh, it's all popping off. I mean, we're down 13 teams, 40 players. Not what I expected from this location on the map either. And I think I know the reason why is because there's very strong areas over towards this side of the map that you want to try and confirm over towards early. I think everyone's had a very similar idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? It's playing for the best, quote-unquote, best play that can often lead to situations like this. Everyone trying to confirm to the number one option, whereas teams who are now sat in the third or the fourth best option in terms of location are just going to get so many more placement points than you, right? It's it's a little bit of potential folly to not be able to read, okay, look, we're just not going to get the best spot here. We need to maximize our point earnings rather than try and get into the spot that's going to get us a chicken dinner. And I think that's really where IGLs at the top international level really distinguish themselves, and teams in general, coaches and analysts as well, when they're able to give that sort of advice, to see that enacted as well, because that's often more important than the advice itself, is the ability for a team to make it work.
Yeah, well, there is quite a simple solution to all of this, which is you've got to think of when you're entering the circle, right? If you are slightly late to the circle, at that point in time, you've got to put your hands up and be like, well, I'm not getting center. That's as simple as that. So maybe it isn't as simple as that in this lobby, because there's been a lot of times where central locations have just been completely open. I do think you have to similarly how have worked. I would say how Alpi play. They both play under the assumption that yes, most things might not be open, but we're going to be cautious on their approach. We'll scout it. If there's players there, then we'll just back out. And I think that's led to Alpi getting a lot of late game finishes. Not always like the strongest of finishes, but Alpi's always in the conversation.
I really don't like that edge guard that we were on board with Swat Europa on the north side. Sure, you're probably... Okay, they do manage to get these points gone, but if Crazy goes down here, it's not unreasonable to think that you just lose a player. So the fact that he wasn't spotted was great. I ended up going out for the loot, I think might be a little bit kind of too much. And Crazy's following him. Okay, this is a bit greedy for my money. I feel like...
dude.
Okay, there's other options. I think that might be a little bit greedy. Just send back into the blue with two of your players. Swat going to be very late to the north side of the circle. Calais playing in from the south, needing those bandages to come through to keep him alive as he heads closer and closer to the circle on the southeast side. But Kodiak have two players there as well. They're going to hear this vehicle marauding around.
I don't know where he's going to make his way in from. I think this is a hard push. We'll have to get the first aid kit off early and then just accept he's going to be a little bit damaged making his way in. He's not doing a terrible job of it, though. Gets out of the blue, and I think it's because Kodiak started moving down towards the south side, so it's not sure if I'd call it well-timed. It's a fortunate moment there for Calais as he pushes in.
Yeah, it is fortunate, however, that Kodiak are only on two, otherwise this southwest side would be just unplayable for him. Golden Guardian's up to the north side, and he's managed to get through unscathed for now, as Kodiak have yet to crest that ridgeline and start to push down. Far Voice Gaming also probably pushed back off the ridgeline, playing in these valleys between these high ground ridges that I was talking about earlier. Often can keep you safe for quite a while because the teams on top of them are going to have to deal with each other. They can't peek far enough to get an angle over towards you. Kodiak, okay, they get spotted by, two teams start to move in. It's Far Voice and Alpi, who sort of crunch them between each other. As the Boars take on the fight with Swat Europa.
Oh, that's a bit decent right there. That's frustrating for Snowyx, I already know. He was kind of in the prime location to assist taking shots. It's a good thing they do get a knock there, but this would be a lot more difficult that is sort of running out to the open. I don't know how does Tevin miss those shots? We could let him sort of wander a little bit too far. Boars are going to lose this, actually. They're absolutely going to lose this. What were they doing?
They've been holding here for the whole time. SWAT Europa coming in from the north, there were shots that popped off earlier, as we saw. Yeah, I feel like the Boars should have known that there was a team moving in from this north side, and maybe they did and just fumbled the fight, right? That is potentially what's going on. For Golden Guardians, on 105 points, though, they'd love to see the Boars go down right now with 0 points on the match. Because there's a little bit of an opening for them there. They've got 4 elims already, and the Golden Guardians 2-2 split on the compound on the east side. A lot more secure than most of the other teams in the lobby.
I don't know. It's such a weird one where SWAT Europa has no idea, or they don't have any concrete idea that Boars are playing down here, right? But they just wrap in instantly and clean up 3 of their players. I feel like Boars are playing a little bit loose there. And if you wanted to grab first place, this is not how to do it.
Calais again on a solo survivor mission for Hatyara crew. So they still need to outlast that, and even then, 3 elims for Hatyara crew. It's going to put them over the top, so still a wider gap to try and breach. However, it goes back to what I was saying before, right? Hatyara crew, again, a fairly big misstep on their match. It may be that other teams have use their gameplay as a learning model, right? And so they're finding a lot of their rotation paths overcrowded in these scenarios. That could potentially be what's happening to them. And they're just not able to find those locations as they once were.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, a lot of teams will have watched back a lot of these games, figured out where the rotations are coming from, and the teams you're going to be watching out for are Hatyara crew as well as Boars. Like, these teams you will be pretty well downloaded on overall. So these 2 teams their games get harder and harder as the days go on. Nice name from Calais. I don't want to 4 now.
I don't imagine that Alpi have full intel that this is a solo as well, because they came into this east side fairly late. They may not have realized that it was one solo player who is now in this location. The long range for Far Voice Gaming, though, is going to become a problem for Calais. Before, they couldn't really peek over with Alpi playing the high ground, but now that everyone from Alpi's descended, Calais is under threat. He has got the angles to worry about from, actually, TBSS as well as Far Voice Gaming. I know they're very similar colours on the map blank, but there is a tornado on the north side. Maybe not for much longer if he tries to crash into Epsilon Axe, which seems to be one of the very few options. Jakey not taking this one lying down from the ditch either. Take shots uphill towards Tug Duel, not quite getting the knock though.
For the first time I've seen Far Voice Gaming get far into a match before. This is nice to see. Epsilon Axe also over towards that north side. This is a lot of high ground involved, right? You got this big old mountain range that sits on this south side of La Pedriera, and then a horrible little field down towards that eastern side, and similar things over towards the west. A lot of teams can be lined up down the center of this circle, which is going to influence this game in the sense that there's going to be a huge amount of fights going on, just because teams will have to play so close to one another, elbow to elbow, basically.
Interesting that why is Matt not shooting Calais right now? What's going on there? He should completely be able to see him. Maybe he just can't quite see over the smoke. It might have been a little bit of a tricky angle, but does spot him out there immediately. Yeah, okay. He was just waiting for it. He must not have had vision through that smoke. Seiko as well, taking shots over towards Calais. The blue zone will push Calais out of this position, so he needs to get to something, but there really is nothing for him to move towards. Bakey as well, similarly pinched, and will really struggle to move. They will fall. Going out, I believe that's in 11. Alpi now a solo survivor. You're going to have to move to the hills. I'm interested to see what the Golden Guardians could do here. They've moved across the road now in a 2-2 split. The last player from Paws up on the north side. And Jerry Mortimer and SWAT are going to start to clash as well on that north side, potentially taking care of one another. And not in the nice and cuddly way. I mean in the much more brutal fashion. Both teams taking shots at one another.
Far Voice Gaming, you say it's compound on the north side right now. It's time to go for it. It's a strong spot in the circle. You should know it's free. Cookdale's currently clearing it now, but this is the rest of the team needs to start moving up. You just hold on all 4 points of this one, and it should be a really safe spot to play. Like I said, this is a very dangerous circle in the sense of how players have to move up this hillside. So if you can grab yourself a compound like that early on, goodness me, grab that and hold on to it for dear life.
Vincherry Mortem really struggling. SWAT Europa coming alive a little bit in this match, Blank. They've taken on the Boars. They've taken on Vincherry Mortem as well now. They're up to 7 elims with 10 teams remaining. And they've got a little bit of confidence, a little pep in their step for now. Havoc atop the hill, going to be potentially too tall of an order as they send higher and higher up this cliffside. Yeah, this is some crazy oversight on towards it. A 1-for-1 trade, not even getting the flush. The Boars are out. I mean, that is great news for the Golden Guardians. If they can get their player back up, looks like he's very close to bleeding out. They may just be able to stick the res. I think they are. And getting back up to 4 players alive would be really, really good news. And moving over these hillsides. Epsilon Axe trying to defend their patch on the east side. Far Voice Gaming putting a lot of pressure over to the west side and over to this fight with Team Rain and Vincherry Mortem getting stuck into it on the western edge. And Far Voice starting to lose knocks, starting to lose players. A run down from Dakimi over towards Rain as he sends over the top, trading back and forth now. Vincherry Mortem trying to bring the numbers equal. Far Voice Gaming, they have lost Nouveau in the meantime. And potentially looking to just stick that res and stay as 4, often more impactful, but Golden Guardians might try and backfill on this.
Yeah, it's a lot to hold, right, for Far Voice Gaming. It's the only difficulty here for them. They just have to get some shots in here and there to have Alpi been taken down. Jerry Morton will find Zinc, actually, on a little bit of a long shot, which will assist SWAT Europa in their push-up.
Golden Guardians as well, looking to try and patch themselves back together. They found 2 knocks sent their way from solo players who've been left in the lobby. One from the Boars, from Terminus, and one from Jakey on Alpi. But they have managed to handle business both times. They're up to 6 elims now. They haven't got this res off just yet. The nades from Far Voice do tag on. 77, I think that was the flush, so they are now guaranteed to play on as 3. Moving through over this ridgeline, though, they have got to worry about Epsilon Axe at this stage. Will be pretty tricky to deal with it. Musa is spotted, and I mean, SWAT Europa, they're moving from strength to strength in these fights. They found another isolated one, and a big opener onto Musa, the point man who needed to hold that line, could not go down, and he falls to it.
Yeah. Great. Being able to get up here is great news for them, but they lose Crazy in the process. 8 elims so far, which is a very, very good result for SWAT Europa, becoming a little bit more alive in this game, like you're saying. They're in 13th place. They've not had the best of runs of it. But maybe Hot Bomb is a big confidence booster for them, right? It's like that thing that we struggled with so much with in the past, we got it done in less than 2 minutes. So now we can dominate the rest of the lobby, right, guys?
I'd be interested to see if they go back to it, or if it was just an artifact of the plane path in Erangel. Well, that's going to be next match, because we've got to focus back in on this one. Golden Guardians, actually with a fairly solid chance here. The compounds they've been able to get into. Far Voice allowed them through. Havoc still looking to defend, but SWAT are moving tactically here. Faker looking to try and spray down the corridor, but it's just not working out. Zinc able to find the fade away, and now they found their feet. But is it too little too late? A nade comes in, and this is Epsilon Axe coming through to try and join the party. With their 3 players, they're now turning their attention over towards SWAT Europa, who are starting to flag. A lot of damage sent their way. Sharps now storms the building, but a crossfire is set up for SWAT Europa. Finds the first. Now 2 players left standing on both sides. The nade in through the window does not connect. And Skylo wants to try and find some retribution, but if they got to charge in like they did before, it's just not going to work out. The damage isn't there. Skylo with a B90 has his teammate now slinking in through the back door too. And they're playing 2 on the inside. Carnage wants to put an aid in through the windows, but they're just not connecting.
Yeah, probably the best weapon to have here in close range, P90 outside of a shotgun. Not if you don't have it in your hands, though. And the Molotov will cut him off from going back down those stairs. Carnage a little bit out of the way here. Kylo's going to be healing back up again, but they have a rough idea of where he's playing now, which is great news for SWAT Europa. Don't know how Far Voice Gaming gave up that compound. Tugdual was holding it for a while and then got basically requested to come back over towards that southwest side, but that is such a winning compound at this stage of the game. It is frustrating that they let it go. I understand that they were doing a lot of sweeping. I didn't mind that too much, but you at least need to have 2 players on outpost.
Moving in to try and take care of Shu. In the meantime, this north side compound is going to get pushed away. Oscuro darts out for a first knock. They're up to 11 elims, looking to bring that up to 12. Vincere and Mortem do fall, so that's Far Voice Gaming completing their sweep. We'll see if they try and readdress that compound that they gave over to Golden Guardians. Now it's just Skylo for Epsilon Axe. They tried to spoil the party. They managed to do a lot of damage to SWAT Europa, where a lot of other teams couldn't. Catching them unawares, has to hop in through the window. That is a bad decision. There is an off angle coming through. Tornado stays in very late. I think he chimed in there as well. But Epsilon Axe, just the latest in a long list of lives taken by SWAT Europa.
Golden Guardians now looking for the back-to-back here. They are on 3 players, so not full force here versus Far Voice Gaming. Yeah, that looks a lot better. TBSS with 3% win chance with just 1 player. That makes a lot more sense to me. But for Golden Guardians, how do they want to play this now? With the next circle, it does push that small edge of the compound they had a little bit further out here. I think if I was Golden Guardians, I'm looking to sweep the eastern edge, get rid of Tornado, and then you can start playing over towards that north side versus SWAT Europa.
I think this is a really important match for Golden Guardians as well. To jump up, potentially be within striking distance of the boars. SWAT Europa. How on earth is Oscuro doing that? Goodness me. What man's Neo? What is going on? Okay, Nuvo, give me some sanity back, please. That is crazy. Spinning like a Beyblade, just shirking off those bullets, man.
Oh, what was that? The old zigzagaroo. Yeah. Guess that's one way to deal with it.
My man's just, I'm imagining him playing gyro, and he's just like spinning on his chair. Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, he was on that Dance Dance Revolution hype, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, 1 foot to the next. Really incredible stuff that he lived as long as he did.
Oh, get him in the ballet. Goodness me.
Yeah,
all right.
Forget that one. That's a play that's going to stay with me.
Golden Guardians trying to leap from behind their wall. They're having a real tough time of it. 2 of their players fall. It's just player 1 now left standing. Far Voice, they abandoned the compound earlier, but they may have been able to roll straight back on in. They've got a whole heap of points and deny Golden Guardians the chance to jump up closer than the boars would be comfortable with. Tornado in this one super late as well. Player 1 with a 1v1 challenge forces Tornado to go for the drop down around the headland, and Tornado wins it out. Okay, TBSS into the 2nd place.
Okay, yeah, that 3% becomes a 9%. He's looking to deny. Oh my God! I thought he was going to get the deny there. Nuvo was still reloading. But then Yoshi did it for Far Voice Gaming. I think they sort of mishandled that late game, but they managed to come out on top. There were 11 eliminations and 1,700 damage done. Fantastic work. And for Nuvo's new game, he's really come alive. Other than that one time where he missed all those bullets.
I mean, he was the one to find it. It was the teammates who couldn't quite get that lock on coming through. That was some crazy dancing coming through from Oscuro towards the end. SWAT Europa, they found a little fire in their belly during that last match, Blank. Their transition from fight to fight was successful. It was aided by the fact that they were picking their fights against teams who really didn't have these third-party potentials to come and bite them back. So that played very, very well for them. But they couldn't quite make it down that hillside. I can't blame them, but yeah, it looked stylish. Didn't work out well in the end.
No. I think for SWAT Europa, it's definitely like I think for this lobby overall, it's a lobby of just confidence boosters, right? That's all you need to succeed. I think a lot of teams are worried to take these engagements, to take these fights, and then as soon as they do, like, well, actually, it was pretty easy. So a lot easier than we first thought it was going to be.
That's potentially a little bit less resistance. It's the terrain, the way the walls fell, that Golden Guardians couldn't quite make it around the edge there. What could have been a 20-point jump up at the end of that match pales to sort of around a 9 to 10 point gain, something in that sort of region. Whereas Far Voice Gaming, they get 21 points off the end of that game, as well as SWAT Europa getting 17 for their troubles.
I mean, for SWAT Europa, it's a wonderful game for them. MVP was Obscuro, and he was certainly obscure when it came to that footwork. Couldn't see where he was going. 792 damage done and 5 eliminations, so 5 knockouts, so very efficient damage overall coming through from Obscuro this game. Managed to make his way up that hill and take down a fair few teams off the back of it. I thought Havoc was going to get further into this game. They just did not, weren't able to make it work. Golden Guardians also slipping their way into that compound. I felt bad for them. I think this is a really good game to capitalize off the back of and get themselves a back-to-back, which might have really sped up their day in terms of performance. Sadly, not the case.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, and not only in performance, right, but their potential to challenge the Boars scoreline. They could have gotten so much further up those tables, closed that gap quite effectively. But yeah, unfortunate for them, they weren't quite able to go all the way. You can see on the points tables, they get 11 points, so it's still a non-zero gain, right? And at this point, they are within striking distance of a second place. I think that can't be understated, but that really requires the Boars to just not have anything more to say for the rest of the day. Yara Crew they're guaranteed it, right? Like there's just no way that anyone's going to be able to take them down. Even with those 4 points they're able to earn, they're getting closer and closer to the 200-point mark, and I just don't see anyone else competing there.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I do think that for a lot of our teams getting up towards that first place spot, it's just impossible. Third place is much more exciting. For Boars, if they continue on the streak of losing fights that they really shouldn't, I mean, even on that northern side, John, we discussed it, you should not be going down there to SWAT Europa. They had no information coming in from that northern side and still swept you underneath the rug. Almost insane. So for Boars, something needs to step up if they even want to try and bounce Yara Crew off this top spot. It's getting closer each time now. It's only 28 points. I believe that they're away. Roughly, yeah, 28 points. So it's not as bad as 35. It's not as bad as 30, but that scoreline is not getting that much closer. Right, I think over 5 matches they're able to squeeze out an 8-point difference between themselves as well as Yara Crew. So it's not been easy. But Golden Guardians, they are hot on the trail.
Yeah, they are starting to turn up the heat here, and hopefully holding a candle to the feet of the Boars as well to try and get them to hot-foot it up those tables a little bit further as well, making a dent in that difference. I think they were 41 points now behind total, which over 4 matches is a closable gap. You know, one chicken dinner and all of a sudden you're having a different conversation. And Cherry Mortem still on this back page though with 74 points, not where they wanted to find themselves. SWAT Europa do fling up those tables. They were in 15th at the start of this match. They're up to 58 points and 12th place now.
Yeah, very nicely done. I think for Havoc Esports, 67 points. I think they've not had terrible games. I do think that for Havoc, there has been certain moments where, you know, it's not always been the greatest, but I do think a lot of these teams are improving a huge amount, John.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for SWAT Europa, they may have just gone back to what they're comfortable with. They were maybe trying to play too highfalutin PUBG Mobile. They're not used to it. They weren't ready to bring it to the table. They got back to basics. It worked out well for them that match. We'll see if it continues to do so. We're going to go to a short break. When we come back, we're going to have match 3 ready to rock. It is Erangel coming back at you soon. We'll see if those Pachinki hot drops are going to continue. SWAT Europa going to move from strength to strength. Will Yara Crew have a good game again? We'll have to wait. We'll see you guys in a few minutes. Come back then for more Erangel. We are going back now to another Erangel to see if the chase for the golden will still be on. If the boars keep fumbling, if that keeps stalling their engines, someone might be able to refuel and take to the skies here. What we thought might be a pretty foregone conclusion is still a pretty foregone conclusion, but now with a caveat. But yeah, we're going to be heading into this match with our eyes peeled to see if the boars can have one big game, because that's all it's going to take to just take the wind out of their sails entirely. What can put some wind in your guys' sail, though, is a little bit of free UC, which you guys can earn. We're giving away 40,000 UC over the course of these broadcast days for the rest of today, actually, for PMGO. Make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled in the chat, because thanks to Buff, we're officially partnered and secure top-up platform. They provide players with globally with cheap and instant UC. They have provided us with a whole bunch of codes to give away in chunks. So if you want to get a chunk of that 40,000 UC, you can by keeping your eyes on those stream chats. Codes will be dropping throughout the show. Make sure you're grabbing those as fast as possible, because there's the first person to redeem them that gets the value out of it. You have to be the fastest finger on the button, otherwise it's no good, it's no dice. You won't get the points, and you have to go again next time, and time is running out, not only for you guys on those UC drops, but also for our teams. This is the exact same plane path as our first Erangel?
I think maybe.
Was it north to south last time? I think
it was north to south, because it would have been way extended time for boars to drop out, right? Because I remember we talked about the fact that they dropped early in North Georgia. Now they're dropping early up towards Novo up north. So obviously for boars, this very much makes sense for them to drop over towards Novo, because it's looting speed. Doesn't really matter what the circle's going to go. If they can get out early, get looted. If they've got South George to work with, now they've got Novo to work with, all things fine. But this does mean we're going to get a northwest circle shift on this one, the furthest away from boars as possible, which is just the way these things go down. But they're getting out nice and early, should be able to loot up. But you're right, it takes one big game from boars, and Hat Yara crew haven't been on top form today.
Yeah, it's opportunities being given to the rest of the lobby, right? Because that was something that we talked about quite early on, is the fact that Hat Yara crew and the boars as well doing so well is such a massive point sponge. It's really stymied other teams' ability to jump up on those tables. But now with their downturn in performance, specifically for Hat Yara crew, those opportunities are more frequent. They are closer together. Hard East Circle does keep a little bit of Sosnovka in, unlikely to finish there, but it's not out of the question. We know what these circles are like, but we're going to be heading out to the east side. Now for boars, I think this is probably quite a difficult setup for them. Depending on how many teams move east early, they're potentially coming into conflict with a lot of players and potentially going to be finding some fraught relations with the teams looking across from that east bridge.
Oh, that's not too bad, right? They get themselves over towards there's boats there on Nova up north. They can drive out from there quite easily and just swing themselves around towards Milta Power. Even Lipovka, if they wanted to. They know that most teams won't have dropped towards Lipovka. That should be free for them. So I think there's a lot of options here for boars going forward. This does cut down the amount of space that is playable. Already, huge amount of water in this one, which seems to be a reoccurring theme for a lot of our Erangels so far as we head in towards the third match of the day.
Yeah, it is pretty nasty stuff for so many of these circles and so much of this time spent playing in these lobbies. The boars are going to go very, very quickly out to the east side. They're not going to waste any time in Novo. They're going to get across early. Milta occupied by the Golden Guardians, so could maybe find a pretty tournament-defining fight in that area. 41 point difference between the two of them. The Golden Guardians would love to go down early again.
Yeah, being able to catch up to them would be fantastic news. But like I said, the boars, they get themselves quickly over towards Mini Milta Power. Completely fine place to be. Team Demon fighting early. This kind of goes hand in hand with this squad. They do love to get stuck into it. That is Team Rain losing one of their players, currently the lowest performing team, but not by a country mile. honestly. They are tied up with Epsilon Axe. And I have seen tournaments, I'll be honest, I have seen tournaments where teams do end their third day on like 17 points. So I actually think, although the skill gap is extremely wide between the top side of the lobby and the middle side of the lobby, it's actually, this is not a terrible lobby right now. Like in terms of, I don't think there's any like clear standouts of this is a bad team.
I think you do have to consider when looking at these points specifically right now that SWAT and Far Voice Gaming both just had big games in terms of points earnings as well, and they are very much within that bracket. They were lower, they were playing that backstop, so it has sort of bunched up a little bit more around the bottom. But I think your overarching point is correct. It's nice to see that there isn't too much of a differential, although at the moment it does seem so. In this fight, Rain are having a very, very tough time trying to take down Demons. Mihai has a player rolling him over these hillsides as well on the north side of Sosnovka. Actually, Rain, there is one more player on the map. Anna is on the south of Sosnovka, so completely the other side of the island. In the meantime, Golden Guardians with a fight. Okay, it could be a little bit more exciting in terms of the unfolding of this one. 1 point already earned, and now 17-15 looking to try and shut them down in Milta on an early rotate out towards the east. 17-15, I don't think they're looking to stay, though, because they've sent a scout all the way out to the east and getting in and amongst the boars. A very disparate approach here from 17-15, and it looks like that's going to come crashing down around their ears. Not too sure on the decision-making there for 17-15.
Yeah, I think they usually play over towards this location of the map, right? So for Golden Guardians to be here, it's a bit of a shock to them, but I don't think it should be that surprising considering this circle. A lot of teams who dropped out earlier saw this circle head over towards this way. Probably want to confirm onto better positions. If you're 17-15, you can't just wildly approach over towards Milta without properly scouting it. So I think for them, it's a bit of a thrown away game here, honestly. A bit sad to see. I think I was most surprised that Xenos didn't go down. That's the balls when he, like you said, he just like, relaxing stroll through the entirety of the squad.
He's now up in Lipovka as well, which is kind of odd for 17-15. I think they are going to try and regroup there. Yara crew taking up position near shelter. Near those open fields to the west of prison as well. There's some very valuable compounds, and even though they look like they're on the northwest side of the circle, given the playable terrain, places like Heaven Compound, for instance, going to be a really important linchpin rotation point for our teams on the north. So I'm looking at Kodiak, looking at Gods Reborn as well, who went down fairly early in that last match. And thinking about how they're going to transition south. I think that is going to be an important one to keep an eye on. Ritzy and SWAT Europa as well are rotating in from the west side, basically on top of each other. They are right behind one another, and that is not the sort of time you want to be turning your vehicle. Luckily, it rights itself fairly quickly.
So Europa coming in from that western side. So Ritzy very close. Pretty much the same colours, so this is going to get a little bit messy. In terms of seeing who's going down and who's not. But right now, Ritzy is on the receiving end, the most of the punishment. 2-pack down to a very, very low health pool. A lot of posturing going on, but not a whole lot of ground being taken.
He's got a brand new hovercraft. He's just trying to show it off. And Jerry Morton as well, looking to move in behind. And the fact that Ritzy have stopped off here could prove to be a little bit nasty for their movements forwards. They've obviously lost a player. They didn't want to lose too much more. SWAT Europa trying to get across the road, and they need to establish themselves fast. Getting up onto this hillside, getting into the compound here, actually committing to the buildings now. So Cherry Morton, we're going to have to divert around it, potentially get closer to Milta. That could make Golden Guardians' lives harder.
It could. I mean, Golden Guardians are very well surrounded, but Milta's a nice place to play in terms of having a lot of areas to work around with, honestly. I don't think teams are too unhappy with how this one is playing out. Eclipse making his way through the field here for SWAT Europa, who are just fine right now, looking to pick up that player from Vincere Mortem of a point to add to their tally. Like you said, they profited a lot today already. Now looking to get a little bit further up on those rankings. They do get the rundown over towards the key meet.
They are proving to be quite tiresome for a lot of our other teams. I'm sure they don't Don't like the view of them rolling over those hilltops. What Europa doing bits. Next circle coming through, just about to show itself off. Okay, so that hard northwest shift. Let's look over towards Dip. Let's look over towards the mansion areas on that north flank. I'm expecting this Milter glut of teams to get a move on, and I think, yeah, Vincere Morton moving first doesn't really surprise me. Boars find a knock. And it's over to Yara crew. Okay, they found Lazzy. There is no way this doesn't get run down. Is there going to be any retribution, though? Because you've got Loco up in the hills. Maybe looking to take shots. No, they're not even going to go for it.
Yeah, you lose Lazzy there, you're just going to back out. They're going to head over towards where Lumberyard is, maybe a little bit further. It's such an awkward circle for such an awkward playing path. Basically goes all the way up towards the western side. We're forcing teams to the very eastern side of the map. Shelter becomes a little bit of a focal point for a lot of teams. You get a lot of players around that area playing the bunkers. Yeah, I think a lot of teams tried to confirm over towards that southeastern side, which did make complete sense considering where their plane path went through, where a lot of the teams were littered along the southern coast. So it's suddenly getting this hard shift over towards that northwest side. It just opens up so much space on the northwest side of the circle.
Yeah, there was a real vacuum there, and we know that our teams just love playing on the south side. It just happens time and time again. But yeah, they are going to have to start to move up. There is no room for them all to be playing in that zone. With that Lumberyard hilltop, Kashi taken very, very low, trying to get these bandages off. Don't want to jog him too much. Stop that channel. And they're going to get out of there. Okay, God's Reborn on the road again with 3 players. 17-15, they managed to survive with 2. Now they're rolling up into Kodiak with 4, but on quite a big split here. I think they, teams are aware of each other's presence. The vehicles making Havoc, worry about their position and join them fairly close by.
Well, this is always going to be a very hotly contested spot on the map. It's one of the few areas that, it's not the most ideal location to play in the world. Teams don't want to be forced to play here, but when there's so little space to work around with because of the huge amount of squads that were basically chucked into the mix on the southeast side, you kind of have to throw yourself down here in the first place. So Boars are actually going to play on that far east side, a little bit closer towards Lumberyard. Everyone else got forced over towards Shelter. I think Yara crew was able to get fairly central, though, surprisingly.
Yeah. I mean, they're on top of this position, right, with Havoc. They are up top on the entrances. Still playing just this big split for Yara crew, right? They are vulnerable right now because other teams are going to be sending 2, 3, 4 players at these solo situation positions that they've established for themselves. I think it's a little bit too risky right now to be holding all of that ground as a 3. Next circle comes through. It does go back down to the southeast side, so bad news for Alpi, TBSS, Far Voice Gaming on that northern edge. They are going to have to shift back on over. Kodiak around that prison area, looking to control the east side of it. I imagine what 17-15 would like to do, but with 2 probably can't, and maybe how Yara crew will do that is play the west side of that prison ridgeline and try and establish themselves there.
Yeah, this is also not a very nice circle for anyone else because you are right, in terms of prison, that actually cuts out a lot of area. No one really wants to head towards prison early, but it's a lot of sightlines being denied in that area over from the west towards the east. Overall, never a really fun spot to play around with. So for Kodiak, they're likely going to be focusing a lot of their attention over towards this eastern side, clear a lot of the teams out there, and then you can play on the eastern edge of prison. But yeah, for them, Far Voice Game is kind of the biggest obstacle at the moment. The TBSS could be a problem later on.
Yeah, from that east side, from Lipovka. I'm looking at the Golden Guardians as well, who were in Milter. They left out far Rap. Actually putting up the top of the mountain now, towards that Lumberyard position that we're on board with at the moment. Epsilon Axe holding out the boards. The place could be a little bit more here, depending on who's able to win this fight, who's able to shots, who's able to find a first knock, if indeed they go for the fight at all.
It's start getting things a little bit more sorted in terms of areas of the map you are trying to confirm over towards. I think Yara crew made the right decision. Play on this western edge. I think that they didn't want to get caught around on that western side. A lot of teams are moving over there, and they spotted that this western high ground is very available to work with. God, so many teams suck over towards Lumbia. This is very rough.
This is nasty business. Gods Reborn taking shots. It was Golden Guardians as well taking shots at Team Demon, who are now down on one player and playing on the north side of Milta. Reyna still by the east bridge from Sosnovka at the moment, with their two players left alive. Potential to run straight headlong into this fight, or maybe stay out of it and stay on the west. Ooh, Boar's take a knock. Snowex is down.
Kodiak, Rose is able to get a little bit of retribution, but that's over towards the guys on Far Voice Gaming. So Boars do lose Snowex completely out here. That's because Kodiak was following this team further downwards. For Boars, they are pinched. They have to clear some area. And I think this is where they wanted to go. They wanted to sweep over towards this northeast side. There's multiple teams here in the way. Circle heads directly onto the northern area of the map, around Mansion, around Prison. Oh, this is not good for any team involved.
I mean, Yaraku are probably one of the happier teams in this one, and to be fair, Alpi as well. Heaven Compound on this northwest side is going to be really strong for them if they can hold on to it. Ritzia right there. SWAT Europa could potentially roll up. We know they like to do that and get on through. Boars disengaging. Kodiak have got an outpost over the north, but they are penned in by Prison on their western flank. And now Yaraku are going to have to deal with 1715 getting in and amongst their business, as well as the Boars who are rocking up on this area.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a high prior area, right? Very much want to lock this down. I think Boars are equally surprised they're able to confirm over towards the south side of Prison. 1715, Taper's taking a whole lot of damage. We'll have to hit the first aid kit, but there is Yaraku banging on the door here.
Trying to unleash those shotgun shells to the door frame, not going to step out, has to try and face his fears, has to hit the deck. The shotgun shells again just not quite landing through it. The third parties are going to come through fairly quickly. You do need to deal with it, and they find it. Finally, Exodus is here, but it's a little bit too little too late. Loco from range will be able to handle business. Now the Boars have not had the opportunity to go for a third party, but Cherry Bortum, though, they're trying to move in around the shelter entrances. They've lost a lot of players. Just Shoom in action. Gods Reborn wanting to slow this res down. A damage sent out, and it's Havoc from underneath, playing from inside the bunker, completely unaware of it. Vincere Morton full prey.
Some of these teams on the southeast side just have no information to work with. As you can see from right there, from Vincere Morton moving up, and then do not know there's still players underneath inside the shelter itself. It's an awkward maneuver from everyone. This is a part of the map where you absolutely do want as much information to work with as possible, and this is all made worse by the fact that plane path was so disgustingly opposed to where the circle ended up towards the end game. Teams just haven't had the time to set up properly.
It's been really quite tricky. Very hard fought path for a lot of our rosters. Golden Guardians went down, by the way, in a fight to Epsilon Axe on that south side, so a run potential for them slowed again. Now they've only got three more matches to play today, and indeed in these finals. So for the Boars, can they open enough headroom for them to be able to breathe a little bit easy? They're right next to Yaraku, but they're in a really solid spot for this match. They've got 3 elims, not too many teams looking to try and push through them. They will be first to face if Epsilon Axe try and move northward, but everybody on that west side needs to conclude as well.
Pretty much Boars' main goal right now is just to hold out teams like Kodiak, like Epsilon Axe on this south side. They can't really confirm much over towards Yaraku just yet because they don't want to get backfilled. And this is like the main place that you will get backfilled from anyway.
It's a bit of a risk. Kodiak at the moment mounting up on the south side of Prison, leaving Winnie to stop them from getting backfilled. With angles over towards TBSS, but I don't feel like TBSS are going to want to go for this one until the circle shows itself. It goes over to Prison with the circle. I mean, this is great for Yaraku, for Boars as well, to be able to control this if they can fend off Kodiak. Loco blows himself up. Bad news. Bad news. He is somewhat resible, but that might allow the Boars to step a little bit forwards.
I thought they were going to get vehicles start moving around, interestingly enough. Actually looking for the side swipe on the edge. There is the watchtower still in play, which they're just going to grab easily for them. That is a very lovely spot to pick up right now. And with Yarakru having to reassemble on top of Loco, huge problem. And Winnie will find the shot over towards him, leaving Yarakru back down towards just a 2. I think that was a re-knock.
Came through from Winnie, though, on the off angle for Kodiak. Very, very split from the team. TBSS will have heard this. They are descending on his position right now. You can see that off in the distance. Nades from AZM over towards the Boars, trying to get some damage tagged on in. As Winnie does go for the regroup. Okay, they send someone out to give him a little bit of a helping hand, to feel a little bit more confident in it. So hopefully they can stay alive. The nade from Calais does start to do damage. Terminus, the first to fall to it. Boars are playing with 3, and they're all on the inside. A swift flush comes through as well. As SWAT Europa are doing SWAT Europa things on the western flank. Calais is spotted. Modal moves down for Kodiak, and they're trying to wrap around the back of the prison. Give them a boulder rolling down the hill that they will really struggle to stop.
This is such a nice spot. And honestly, Robs has won, I think, from previous teams in this spot before, if I remember correctly. It's a nasty spot to have to play into, but it's hard to hold early on in the game, because there is a lot of teams around you able to just throw nades in, where the sight lines haven't just been opened up yet. For Yarakru, this is extremely dangerous places to stand and sit for them. The difference maker is that there is just not teams close enough right now to basically guard out for the Boars.
Those shelter exits are getting really stacked right now. A lot of damage pouring on in. SWAT Europa looking to come out smelling the roses on this one. Crazy, the only player to fall so far for them. They're racking up the points yet again. Kodiak struggling to move past as well, as Carnage is giving them a little bit of a challenge now. Modal crashing in. Frizzo as well, and Carnage falls. Kodiak can repair themselves back up. Where do the Boars go? Are they still in this one? Okay, yeah, but they're off in the distance now. They're down to 1 player as well, Blank. Kodiak can get the full reset and play in from the south side. Callie wants to look for the challenge against the Boars. Steps right into a nade. Goes so low. Robs can't quite find that final shutdown, and through the windows. Loco able to find it. The Boars are out.
Yeah, it's so unlucky. It's like a really nice nade there coming through from Robs. But there's so many nades on site for Yarakru. It's almost like they baited out the watchtower, to be honest. It required them to speed things up a little bit, but now Yarakru have a really solid position to play from us 3. It is frustrating, though. I think for Boz, if you watch this game back and you see that Ritzy just doesn't even try a third party on the watchtower, which is a winning spot, you'd be fairly frustrated.
That is definitely an annoyance, but it's the sort of thing you need to account for in a lobby like this. And it goes again to what we were saying earlier in this tournament about the Boars playing that international level and maybe giving too much credit to their opponents sometimes in terms of the risk evaluation that they're taking. But it speaks well to their potential on the global stage. Maybe just not here, unfortunately. Yarakru are now up to 6 elims. I thought they multiple times were going to be down to 2-1 player in this scenario, but they've managed to fight through. They're up to 6 elims. They're in 3-player situation. They've got a solid spot. For Kodiak, it's, again, another chance to potentially look to chase. A big chicken dinner here from Kodiak could put them in with striking distance to the Boars, who were only able to get 4 points this match.
Yeah, again, I think for Boars, this might be game over now in terms of the first place. I think Yarakru just wins from here, by the way. You just win from the spot. In the meantime, SWAT Europa looking to get Kodiak off their backs, but it's not looking easy as Eclipse is the final player in hand and already taking a bunch of shots from Kodiak up on high. And he might just have come to the end of the road here, which he has.
The sun's getting real low for Eclipse. There's an answer from across the way. Alpia chiming in. So Kodiak now playing as 3, but they've got 12 elims now, Blank. This is a solid run. They're looking to sweep through. Alpi will be a bit of a challenge, though. The 3 sight lines against them. Momodal, sure, he's not currently flushable. Yarakru not going to flex out for it, but Alpi will be a problem here. To move on forwards, they do need to try and deal with that angle. The good news is that they are very lined up in that spot. Calais.
David, yeah.
Way too bold.
Yeah, okay. That's probably the worst play we've seen from this guy. Overall, Loco will go down. What are we doing?
What was that? Like, they know that Ritzy are there. They know that TBSS are there. If they don't, they definitely should do.
It's the most unnecessary play I've seen this entire match. You just play Watchtower. You don't have to go anywhere. Like, Ritzy can't stand up now, because the whole reason you play this spot is that it gets to a point in the game where players can no longer stand up around you, and you just win because you have one of the only bits of cover left remaining.
Ooh, Alpi nearly get the run-up to go well. In fact, they do. Okay, they survive with a little assist coming through from TBSS, but now they're under a lot of pressure. I mean, this is such a big opportunity for Kodiak. They've got so many elims already, could farm up plenty more now as Cappuccino is a solo in this location. Another elim added to the tally. You can see 7 elims coming through from Frizzo. And on that angle, he will spot Cappuccino, or rather Cappuccino will spot him, but the gunfire gives the game away. TBSS also with a big chance to prove themselves yet again.
I mean, TBSS have been having a really good day today. I've been really happy with the way they've been making their way into a lot of these circles. Erangel seems like they're starting to 100% understand this map a lot better, understand how to rotate in. They're not that late to these circles anymore. I definitely give them, the accolade of just the most improved team out of the entirety of these squads.
Really happy to see them start to flourish. But there's still 3 other teams in this lobby with them right now. And I'm sure they don't feel quite so flourisome at the moment. Their bellies on the dirt. And Kodiak lording it over them from the high grounds. They've got to keep that objective in sight. So do Kodiak, though. 13 elims. A chicken dinner here likely nets them maybe 5 more elims, which would get them up to an 18 elim game, putting them on, what would that be, a 28-point match, jumping them up very significantly. Very, very significantly on those point standings to be within arm's reach of the Boars, potentially. 105 is where they started. So, yeah, it would be pretty nasty news for the Boars if Kodiak are able to sweep through this one.
That's a big possibility as well. Kodiak, they've had some fantastic games in the past. Cappuccino, last player alive now for Alpi, playing in a spot that, you sort of have to grab later on versus Hatyara crew. But with these player counts, 4 players for Kodiak, 4 players for TBSS, Hatyara crew don't really have the staying power here anymore.
The good news is that they aren't within nade range of these big rosters, right? With the 4 from TBSS, they don't have the nades, or rather they may be saving them for a later engagement, and Kodiak just a little bit too far away. So they can bide their time. AZM and Calais can wait. Cappuccino not wanting to poke his head above the parapet because it will get blasted as soon as he makes himself exposed. The next circle coming on through. They're all waiting for it.
Just want to know where this goes. And again, it just shifts ever so slightly over towards that western side. Keeps the watchtower again. Like I said, this is an incredible position. Not often afforded to teams. Kodiak, they're going to really slow themselves down. TBSS has to walk in. You can see there that where they're going to have to walk in is over towards open ground here. Luckily for TBSS, though, they have a lot of their vehicles still available. And what's the play here? Do you make the crash over towards the roadside? Probably. With TBSS now finding the initial knock over towards Hatyara crew, this is really good news for them.
Kodiak find that second. Cappuccino is there. They should know this position. They've been taking shots at it before. TBSS now know that Cappuccino's there. Nades can start to be pinpulled. Without Hatyara crew now, they have a lot of control over the area, but 20 finds the opener over towards Ronin. Looking for another as well. Kodiak rolling down the hill. The nade finds a little tag onto Tornado from Cappuccino on the off angle, and Kodiak continue their march forwards. 2 players now for TBSS. Looking to try and hold on, but Tornado goes so low. The nade out onto Ronin confirms the flush, and Frizzo breaks out wide. Kodiak now looking to would circle this fight and put it in a chokehold. Cappuccino giving it a good go, but takes even damage with Frizzio on that scenario. The nade in over the tornado brings TBSS down to 1. Cappuccino starting to flatten and will not be able to stand up to it. The vehicle goes boom, and TBSS now the last on the menu. An 18 elimination chicken dinner coming through potentially for Kodiak. 1 goes down. He's got a lot of health. Confirms the flash, but he's burning away, Blank. I don't think he gets away with this one. He may just go down. The first aid's coming through, but it will not be enough. The burn is on, and Kodiak give themselves a chance to the top 2.
A really good chance, and I think it will be a massive upset if Bulls do not go through to PMGO. So we are getting close here right now. For Kodiak, it's a massive game, a 29-point game, which really does shove them up the rankings. For Bulls, though, I'd be bashing a desk. I'll tell you that now. It's a frustrating one. They take the right position on the map. You expect at that point, anyone who challenges them is just going to get shot out and taken down. But you also, there is this other possibility there where Yaraku almost baits them into that, where they had so many nades available to clear out Watchtower. So they're just waiting for a team to roll up towards it. But yeah, I think Balls Gamer were sort of expecting a little bit more of an immediate response to the teams on the north, where Yaraku were just fully out in the open. It's not meant to be. A little bit of an early approach potentially.
And as much as we hyped it up towards the end, the points gap will still sit around, I believe, like 30 points or something between Kodiak and Boars Gaming, even with this 29th point infusion being added to Kodiak's tally. It's still quite far away, and it is still quite an outside chance. But 3 matches to play, a 30-point difference, when you're talking about teams towards the top, is definitely doable. And if Kodiak have found their feet, we've seen what they can do. Frizzo with the MVP with 10 eliminations, Blank 1,750 damage is insane coming through from Frizzo.
That is the highest we've seen for this entire tournament, hands down. A crazy turn up from Frizzo, not only here but in our last match on Miramar as well. He has very much been the glue that's held the team together. Though. Is that 20s? Or is that Frizzo? Am I getting mixed up?
What do you mean?
Is that 20s portrait or is that Frizzo's portrait? I thought it was 20s portrait.
Oh, I can't remember. I can't remember which one's which. I believe in the graphics, though. We'll go with it for now.
I'll believe in the graphics.
Memodal as well. Top 3 coming through from Kodiak as Winnie is in 3rd place. Of course, Loco had to make an appearance. He did unfortunately go down to Calais. Interesting play to break out of their tower and try and make a dash for it.
I don't know.
Kodiak with 29 points. Yaraku with 11. They are very close to breaking that 200-point barrier too.
Indeed. It's because they're all giving the old crossed arm pose, the classic esports pose. I'm getting mixed up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. For Kodiak, 29 points. TBSS with 11. I'm loving the turn up from TBSS. Yaraku also got 11 points this game, which makes it fairly improbable that Balls catch them up today. They've got 3 more matches to do it, but you got to profit on at least 2 out of the 3. Here's our overall top players. Robs is actually making his way in the top here now, which is great news.
All right, Gloko still sits atop the pack with a huge damage total, nearly on 10k damage for Yaraku, and Frizzo up in 4th as well after that performance from the last match, doing pretty hefty lifting himself there. 38 elims coming on in, really nice stuff. Here are the overalls though. So Kodiak they are pretty close enough to worry about for the Boars there. They are under 30 points away, actually. They are going to be 27 points behind the Boars, and that is a bit of an upset coming on through for the Boars. They're going to have to worry about it a little bit more. 3 games left to fend them off. We'll see if the Boars can hold on to a qualification spot, which is a sentence I think was unthinkable just 3 days ago.
Yeah, well, when you look at this game, 27 points away from Boars Gaming, they just got 29, so it's not exactly impossible to hit that on the next match. The Boars Gaming, unfortunately for them, getting first place just feels like a bit of a pipe dream now, because you're looking at a 35-point difference, which means at least 2 games, at least. So that's the big issue there for Boars, is that they need at least 2 matches to catch up, and there's only 3 left. So out of they've got to play 66% of their last matches at the highest level possible. I just don't see it happening. On to us, our second page. Cherry Morm still sadly here in 9th. Team Demon have yet to found another placement point, but they have found 11 more elims.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Let's go, Team Demon. Keep turning up the heat and seeing what you can get done. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. That's the way they want to play. That's what they're going to get done. SWAT Europa were trying to change things around in that previous match as well, but they couldn't quite find as much firepower as they did in their Miramar. Instead, they're going to go down a little bit earlier on, but keeping the bottom of the tables also a little bit fresh and exciting. Nice to see coming through from SWAT Europa. Yeah, difficult approach to the circle on that last match for basically everyone.
Indeed. But speaking of fresh and exciting, let's take a look at some clips from the last game.
The time has come, Blank. It's our final Erangel of the finals here for the Western Europe PMGO. We only have one more of them to play. We've got Miramar, we've got Rondo and Miramar up next. And I think that this Rondo could be pretty big. I think if you're going to watch one match today, Rondo may very well be the decider. We talk about these point gaps like they're insurmountable. You throw Rondo into the mix, things get a little bit more volatile. So I'm excited for that one. But this Erangel also could be very decisive depending on how early the boards go down.
And where the circle ends up, I suppose.
That's true.
We are
that's
due
true.
our second Sosnovka of the day, so we'll see what happens there.
Top, come on.
But yeah, you are right. Rondo is going to be a big one in terms of points gained. We're also going to have Miramar being the ender of the day, which it can be a little bit up in the air sometimes in terms of like having those games where you have an end game that is regular and fairly even playing field to win, which is not always likely there on Miramar, a little bit more likely on Erangel, but then again, we have been treated to some absolute disgusting Erangels so far during these finals. But yeah, this is our final Erangel of the finals, into our final Rondo, into our final Miramar. It's last chance saloon for every single map.
Absolutely. We're going for one last run around all of our maps. It's Erangel that we'll be saying goodbye to first, and potentially saying goodbye to quite a lot of teams. I mean, if the Boars have one big game, it is just done, right? There's no way that they're going to be knocked off their second place, and they will have confirmed their spot through. To be honest, the Boars not going through would just be such a massive upset in terms of expectations, in terms of what I'm sure those players are expecting as well. It would be very, very strange to not see that roster going through. With what Hatyara crew were able to do, obviously they were able to slow them down. And if Hatyara crew weren't in this tournament, the Boars would just be far enough ahead, and you could distribute those points however you want to mathematically. But yeah, the Boars, I think, would be with a lot bigger of a buffer to be coming into this one, which they currently have not been afforded.
Yeah, well, for Boars, the entirety of the storyline has always been, is it unfair that Boars is playing in this tournament? is it unfair? And it seems like that's not the case, because there are teams that seem to be challenging them right now. And that currently at the moment is Kodiak, who have put in a bit of a shift today to get to where they are. But here we go, our final errand goal of the finals here of the Western Europe PMGO finals. We're on board with Pakistan at the time being, but this team needs big points on this match to set themselves apart from some of these teams that are chasing.
I think for Boars, this might be a Yasnaya game. Based on the plane path right now from Primorsk up towards Lipovka, Novo's fairly inaccessible. Do they want to drop around Farm and Milta, grab some vehicles? That's sort of their only option for going to Novo. I think North George or that sort of area is also kind of out of the question. So maybe back to Yaz. That's where Kodiak have been finding their stomping ground. And they don't really want to be giving those points away. Okay, I take it back. They can also drop on that north side of Military Island. I overlooked that one. So yeah, they definitely can go for that and get over to Novo nice and early.
Oh yeah, easily. I thought maybe you were suggesting that they hot drop Kodiak, try and put them in the bin early on, but that is a risk. But instead heading over towards Novo, completely fair. Again, pretty nasty area on the map to work around with in terms of the south plane path.
I just spotted something. Blank. God's Reborn are not in Pachinki. Well, they've left. They've headed over to Rozhok. Okay, fair enough. They don't want anything to do with Europa.
I mean, for God's Reborn starting in Rozhok is a actually decent position to work with. You are neighboured by Hayara Crew, which maybe is a little bit frightening for them, but considering Rozhok is fairly open the majority of the time, this is a pretty easy pickup. Pretty long drop here for Boars. They make their way on over. Vagnazar is still in the sky. They've got a bit of a journey out to go towards the north side of the map. But you can see here what we talked about last game with Golden Guardians inside of Milta, 17-15's drop. The fact that they were there first, you sort of have to assume that on some of these weird plane paths. But we'll see as teams make their way in. Severny, once again, open, but I have seen more and more teams actually heading over towards Severny early. I think one of the first teams to do it was Far Voice Gaming, so we'll probably see them there soon.
Yeah, it looks like they're already on the road for it. Boars are sweeping over the north side of Military, going to get through Novo as fast as they can, because they do need to get on the bike. We're not going to have another one of those silly sausage Sosnovka circle stampedes this time around, Blank. They are going to be going over to the mainland. It's 100% guaranteed we cannot finish on Sosnovka now, which means that this is probably one of the kindest circles that we've seen in such a long time for this map. It's kind of crazy.
It's a normal circle. You're right. I don't think we really talked about that too much. We're not doing anything too insane here. They're heading over towards that north side. Far Voice Gaming actually pick up North George. They don't head straight away over towards Severny. They're going to leave that one out. I mean, to be honest with you, if you spot that North George is open and free and the Boars are already here, there's a much better drop spot, a much better looting spot, in fact, at the early stages of the game. Yeah, Boars have got a bit of a journey ahead of them.
I think you're right. For Far Voice, it's much more powerful. Teams will start to crunch in around Severny if it ends up going north of the river, and then transition out towards the shooting range hills, with the potential of even flowing south down towards Everest. I mean, it just gives you so many more options if the circle goes south of that central river. So yeah, you're absolutely right on Far Voice taking up that position. Really quite solid. Not too sure about Alpi's decision though. Seemingly looking to get closer and closer towards Zaki on this one. Not the decision I would have made. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, if you're going to make this big old journey out towards the north side of the map and then fling Zaki side, yeah, it's a bit of a weird option. I think for Alpi, the only caveat I can give is maybe they're worried that there are teams already in Severny, which that would not be wrong to say. As Far Voice Gaming have gone there a few times and that was pretty swift on the approach. You don't have a huge amount of information, but I'd much rather scout Severny and then double back towards shooting range if that was the case.
It might just be a little bit of loot insecurity for Alpi, because depending on how much they were able to get before they made that move, perhaps they're thinking, okay, we could go for Severny, but if we get stuck in a fight there, they've had time to loot the whole of Severny, and we're on, level 1s, one of of us doesn't have a helmet. We've only got 2 nades between us all, kind of thing. So it may just be pick through Severny, move in about a minute and a half over towards. Sorry, pick through Zaki in about a minute and a half, move over and see what you can find there. But yeah, still a strange decision. I think it's safe to say you could commit 1 player over to scout it, which I think is probably what you were alluding to.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a little peek in and go from there. 17-15 Golden Guardians once again get themselves stuck into it, pulling up the fisticuffs here. A bit of a reoccurring trend between both these squads on their rotate over towards that northern side. Giving each other a wide berth for the time being, though. 17-15 is setting up a bit of a shield wall.
Trying to lock in the phalanx. But so far, I mean, Golden Guardians not really giving too much away. With Hoxie on the back foot, though, if Hoxie gets spotted here, or maybe if he spots Heaven, actually, could really change things around, playing on in the shack. As we go over to the west bridge, you can see Team Demon trying to make their move away from Sosnovka military base. TBSS not going to hold it. They're still in Ferry Pier, Blank. They're in Ferry Pier. In the last match, they finally decided, should we just take Ferry Pier? That seems like a good idea. Should we do that? Okay. And they are going to be able to get it. He's inspecting the building cornicing there. He's making sure that the cupboards are looking nice and safe. Okay, good. No splinters. Brilliant.
Kodiak working the way in from that western edge. Eastern edge, sorry, from Yasnaya. Pretty usual spot for them. They're always happy, though. They get themselves a loot truck really early in the game every single time, which is one of the blessings you get from Yasnaya. If you can get there early enough, that is. Very slow game from Boars, though. Goodness me. Still making their way off over at Naya.
Yeah, they took a little bit of time to get to Novo, but it wasn't very slow. I mean, they got off in the early third of the plane path. They grabbed vehicles very, very quickly. Perhaps they're worried about bridge camping on that east side. It could be something that a team from Milta would try and hold them out for as they try and get across. In fact, 17-15 look like they are moving back east to something. Maybe they're going to try and go up around the east side, around the Stalber foothills and get north of the river. Could potentially be a choice, but I'm puzzled by 17-15's decision to make this rotation. Maybe this is something that the Boars know that they tried to do.
I mean, you wouldn't be... I don't think far off, honestly. For Boars, they know that they've got free games, right? Free games to stay ahead. Right now, you want to play relatively safe. Getting 6 to 10 points per game likely is the aim of the match for them, which is very doable. But they are giving it a good old wait here. And they can wait until stage 3. I don't think they want to wait till stage 3, but they absolutely can.
I think, as well, there's the factor of you wait for this second circle and then you actually know if you need to go north of the river, and that might be the decision-making position that they're going for. And as soon as that stage 2 hits, they do move, so that might also be on their minds. I am so puzzled about 17-15. They had the whole east side of Potato Hill. This feels like a targeted play towards the Boars to try and just hold one of their players out and try and take a player down on their roster. Potentially give Kodiak a chance, because Kodiak now are north of the river in potentially one of the more accessible places. They might slam headlong into rain if they keep going farther north, but if they head west, you'll start to get into those shooting range hills.
I can't believe 17-15 is still here, though. It is wild, like you say. We're going to focus in on the circle on the northwest within Cherry Mortem. Water Centre here on that centre island. It's the first time that we haven't had a super deterministic circle where it's either head fully on the north side or fully down towards the south. It's actually a game where we get to see the river a little bit more involved on this one. But the teams have played a similar circle like this, I think, on day 1, where this ended far northwest, around shooting range in the forest there. Ritzy set up nicely towards a northeast position. And with Everest being in play, a bit of a funnel round Ruins. I do think you'll probably see a lot of teams coming in a little bit later to this one, waiting for those spots to open, or even taking a really wide wrap up over towards that northeast. We can currently see both Golden Guardians and 1715 they are playing very, very silly down towards the south side. I don't know why they're still here. I think Boars are also completely confused by this. It makes no sense.
This is flummoxing as to why two teams have decided to send out this area with the circle as it sits. They are sweeping their own legs out to try and take down the Boars, it seems. It's very, very strange. I mean, the Golden Guardians, I can understand it more from them. Target the Boars. They're the team that you need to bump off that second place spot. But from 1715, that's even stranger. Rain, they've been going head-to-head with Kodiak for a while. They did manage to get a knock. It was res. They got a re-knock. But now the Bullets are starting to find their way back over to them. Frizzo does go down. A pretty heavy hit to the roster, one of their main fraggers, but they still got plenty more firepower in the back pocket. 20, obviously a standout during those knockout stages. And a Modal, looking to put pressure forward. Nade in to control the building. Mitza around the edge. Will not get found just now. Winnie also looking to open up through it. Golden Guardians losing players in the meantime on the south side, 17-15. As those three teams still keep it going. Winnie around the window, looks for the shutdown, finds another. Kodiak keeping their hopes high. And with the Boars going low, they still just have this chance on the northeast side. The circle pushing everybody north of the river now.
I mean, still keeps that little island on the south end though. Which is always awkward, a bit more on Rozok's side as well. But you can kind of tuck yourself in towards Rozok. Kodiak are dropped down towards 3. Team Rain on 2, starting to look to send away here. But that does leave Kodiak high and dry in the blue for a long, long time. Golden Guardians, 17-15 still fighting on this south side for whatever reason. Golden Guardians are technically winning it pretty handedly though, so can't complain too much about them.
Well, the Boars certainly will complain about them because, again, third place, Golden Guardians were able to do a huge lift over towards them previously. They are still very much an outside chance on it, though, with over 40 points needed. I think that was that 42-point difference between them. They would need sort of back-to-back chicken dinners and for the Boars to go down early. As I said, it's more understandable for the Golden Guardians to go for a bridge camp against the Boars. But for 17-15, that feels just kind of wild to make that sort of decision. And they may... Well, they have lost out entirely. They are all down. And in fact, at this point, doing it with the Golden Guardians. The Boars playing in with 2, managed to get across the river, actually, to the north side. No one seems to be giving them too much trouble now.
Again, like I said, it's about survival at this point, right? And that is the name of the game. It always has been in PUBG, but for Boars, it is quite literally just about survival. Getting further into the game than Kodiak. Kodiak's coming in on that northeast side. Potentially Team Demon gives them a bit of a problem. We know Team Demon do have some claws on them, although they are very brittle. Fragile claws it is.
Yeah. Pretty ceramic in nature. Nice and sharp, but might snap if they get too far out of check. Havoc trying to fend off against Venturi Mortem on the western side. Venturi Mortem are on 4 players alive, and Havoc going pretty low here, but Wings has the off angle. Faker has the nades. They've got more pouring out of the windows here. Venturi Mortem may be suffering. An answer finally over towards Faker. And Havoc really are going to struggle to hold this building now. No top floor there, and it's all up to Wings to try and find the last 2 players from Venturi Mortem on the western side. He has to play off back. Wants to get Faker back in. Safix on the window. Position spotted. Nade in from Wings. Is it going to land? No, not quite. Takimi has nades cooking from the back lines as well. Faker, I mean, he should just get flushed away at this point. Nade on in, bounce. Nearly getting that knock, but just about able to fade the damage.
Yeah, it's a very nice nade, actually. Bouncing off the top of the barrel, but some good maneuvers coming through from Wings right now. Keep himself safe. Circle to center up over towards Boars, which might be more than they bargained for us, actually. Being so central here is very worrying for the team.
Oh my goodness me. All right, let's cram in, see how many players we can fit into this area. Havoc eliminated. Vincere Mortem able to conclude that fight, but at the cost of 2 of their players. And on the far west, they need to storm the battlements. SWAT Europa do not want to let that happen. And they will be moving on in from that south side of the river, actually looking to use that crossing, which is nice. And with the diminished Vincere Mortem, that west side is more accessible now.
Vincere do kind of open up a lot of that space for them, like you're saying, John. I think the God Street Born wants to get in a decent spot. TBSS, man, I know they might not be getting a huge amount of points, but I like their rotations. They're and I'll put it this way, okay? You gotta trust me that I'm not hyping this team up too much, but they're a team that's playing safe. I think they're learning a lot off of these matches, right? 94 points right now is an incredible result from a team that was getting 16s, 15s multiple times in a row. They do play extremely safe, but it is earning them points. It is earning them points, and they slowly work their way into these circles. They do a lot of homework, it seems, in the meantime. You can respect that from any team.
Absolutely. It is very, very impressive, and we'll keep harping on about it, but definitely now most improved. With only 2 matches left to play, they have really shown some tenacity within this tournament. Really on the best foot forwards. Big fan of TBSS. Vincere Mortem are eliminated. They can't make it any further forwards, unfortunately. Kodiak have been busted down to 2 players, Blank. On that northern side, they have been struggling somewhat. And they've got 3 eliminations right now. That is their total points earnings. The Boars pretty happy about that as Rain take the full tumble. They will be going down on their last airing goal that they'll see this tournament. But yeah, Kodiak, their ability to jump up the tables severely diminished here. The Golden Guardians, not so much though. On the northeast side, I feel like it may be a question of how long can the Boars survive, as we've talked about so many times. It doesn't seem like too many teams are putting pressure on them, but once this northwest side concludes, that's when they're going to be in huge amounts of danger.
Yeah, for Kodiak, you're right. With a lot of the teams coming in from the northwest, they're just waiting for their fights to finish up. You can see here they're already setting up with tons and tons of smokes in preparation for what is going to be a bit of a flood on this northwest side.
You've got SWAT Europa, you've got Ritzy, you've got Alpi all in the hills to their northwest right now. It looks like Alpi and Ritzy are going to kick things off, but SWAT Europa, I think, have also found an off angle. This is the worst for Ritzy. They are caught between 2 of them. They need to fight on 2 fronts. It's really not going to look clean. Safe trying to turn around, trying to bolster the other angle. Aim God as well, looking to try and stay alive. He's on the road, looking to just send it away. Any survivor, that's what they're looking for. Get on through, get closer to the center. It's not going to be easy. An opener on towards Golden Guardians as they try and join in on the north side festivities. That is not good news for them though, because the blue zone's putting pressure on, and that's a flush.
Well, I mean, for the Golden Guardians, I'm kind of not too bothered about it, right? I quite like Golden Guardians as a team, but this game has been a shocker from them. I think that there's no easy way around it. The way they played that early game and then have just swiped their way over towards the northeast, expecting a spot in the circle, I think they would have been much better off playing similarly to how Epsilon Axe has played this one out. You won't often hear me saying something like that, but I think that Epsilon Axe playing down towards Rozhok was the right play. They didn't have a lot of information, so they get themselves over towards a spot where they can really observe the north side of the circle as much as possible, and it's kept them in this match. I think Golden Guardians way over ambitious or greedy almost, thinking they can even have a spot on this northeast side after coming in so late.
Demon do get spotted though, and that is Point Man over towards the holds towards the Golden Guardians, so potentially an opening. They are starting to move back down to the east side, and the res needs to come through. Demon under threat right now because SWAT Europa are crashing in from the northwest side. They are fighting again on multiple fronts. Alpi could third party on towards this north side, but I think the Golden Guardians moving out east is probably the right decision. They are flying back in the face of what you were saying earlier, and hopefully trying to repair their reputation with you. On that rotate, try and take that fight, try and open up towards the riverside. Hatyara crew losing players on the crossing as well to TBSS, who just seem to keep moving on this tournament.
Yeah, they are losing players, but this was the right choice. This is one of the few choices they had, which is to ramp back down and play downhill. They've lost a player for it, but that was always going to happen. For Golden Guardians, you come into the circle way too late. I think they got very caught up on that fight with 17-15, which seems to be happening frequently now. And it didn't look so bad before because the circle was always in play with where that fight was taking place. So Golden Guardians need to figure out how they're going to disengage with 17-15 early, because I don't see 17-15 changing up their playstyle around them, and that's Golden Guardians out.
And that is Boars breathing a sigh of relief yet again. As for one more match, they're able to hold on to their position, but how much further can they go? A big result here, if they're able to get up into the top 4, that would be brilliant. Getting a couple of elimination points, they will start to open that gulf with the last 2 matches left to play being a little bit tricky, but there's always that Rondo X factor that can come into play as we go into the next one. But the Boars at the moment on a point-scoring mission. Every single point does matter for them to just feel safer and safer as time goes on, and that's discounting the possibility that Boars just blast out Rondo as well. But we'll refocus onto this match. Yara Crew tried to cross that 200-point threshold as well.
They're not doing a terrible job. They're trying to get further in. Some good shots from Loco, as per usual. Sort of to be expected at this point from this player. He is incredibly good at what he does.
Epsilon Axe with one player. They tried to get across, but weren't aware or didn't scout out the position from that Yara Crew because they swam earlier. They swam across a lot earlier, and maybe they just didn't check the angles there. For Epsilon Axe, maybe a misstep on that. SWAT Europa trying to roll up to Albi. It's not going super well, though, Blank. 2 of their players are down, or 3 of their players are down, and now it's just Andy Boy left standing for them. And Cappuccino wondering where he is. Where is this last guy? What's going on? The nade over the top. Right. The bounce is good, but it does a lot of damage to his own team as well. I think Cappuccino's just going to look for these flushes, and Andy Boy, you don't commit for this. Or do you? Okay, because Team Demon are going to try and crest the ridgeline behind. Okay, he's going straight on over. Andy Boy loses his teammates. Andy Boy sends over the top, tries to go slow on the roll out there, takes a lot of damage and has to hit the deck. Position completely known. Yeah. And Cappuccino looking to take the opportunity to heal.
Kind of an amusing one where he's realizes the play's gone wrong. Just a little bit of a crouch walk out of there. But it does go down. God's Reborn actually finding those shots on side. Team Demon try to make their way in. I think this is one of Team Demon's highest placing games of all tournament, actually.
Definitely could be. Definitely could be. It's going to be up there. 6th place guaranteed to be locked in. Let's see if the Boars are going to prove a little bit of a hurdle too far. Magnazada gets some healing done. Terminus is down, though, and so is Magnazada. They are eliminated. 3 points total, Blank. So really not a big game. Unfortunately, the teams chasing them also not on a big run. For TBSS, they're still trucking, though. They are still going here with 2 elims. They're looking to take a 2-1 split, or is it a 2-2 split, either side of the river. I kind of like this approach again.
Yeah, they've got a 2-1-1, let's put it that way. They've got a player still over towards the western side and 2 players that will pretty much have regrouped now, so you got a 3-1 split at the moment. It is very ridiculous that we have a circle that is breaching back over towards Rozog, and I think the saddest thing about this is that Epsilon Axe thought they had to cross. They actually would have had an insane game if they just held on the south side.
Yeah, it would have been big, but they didn't cover their cross. They may have been trying to leave players behind. I'll wrap back to it now. Yara Crew spoiled that for them, though. Calais and Loco, the 2 big pumpers for the team. Trying to keep that damage pouring out, but Loco down, Calais very low, and there's the run out. Okay, TBSS get rid of the remnants of them. They're up to 4 elims. They could start to establish such a big baseline on this riverside. The banks of this river are fraught with danger. So our teams try to conclude on the north. 3 teams remaining. GR trying to roll up. Team Demon, of course, losing a player earlier on and stepping into a 1v2 peak there. No answer found either. Mustang goes down. Gentlemen can look to heal. TBSS not going to poke their noses in. Carlos is very, very low. This blue zone's going to hurt. Doesn't really have too much cover to play around, and there comes the shot. Threading the needle on through. Carlos falls, and now it's just 1 player for Team Demon. It's full 4 up and down on this cliffside to see who's going to close this one out.
it is not often that you actually get to control the majority of this bank. A lot of times you're playing from west to east or east to west in terms of where teams are. So the fact that TBSS is able to control pretty much all of this, it makes it quite difficult for Gods Reborn should they have to come off the high ground. They get very lucky in terms of this circle heading back over towards that northern side, though to be honest, it was going to happen at some point. But right now for TBSS, they are very firmly in control of this game. It's going to be a bit of a waiting match though. And likely stage 8 before anything even happens. Because TBSS, they don't have to push. Really, the responsibility is on the side of Gods Reborn here, on the high ground.
Long range shot, and they find Ronin trying to move out to that east side. Could be Resible. Gentleman's trying to stop that. The break out wide. It's all on Tornado to suppress this position. And Blue able to stick out quite far on the silhouette against Tornado as well. I think it might just be out of render distance. No, they should be within render distance. So Tornado much more preoccupied with the flex out to the east side and might have let it slip a little bit. Albana takes a nade to the face and TBSS letting it get away from them here.
Yeah, definitely a mistake from TBSS. I don't think Ronin had to move. Again, for them, they were pretty locked in towards some good spots on the map. The fact that they start I think they overthought their position there. You just have to hold and wait for stage 8. Don't have to do anything. So a little bit rough. And I think that, again, for TBSS, they're still learning. But that was definitely a clear mistake from their part.
Yeah, it's Gods Reborn. Looking to sweep this one through. Just Tornado now left standing. Burns himself out. He's looking to deny the point. Think they might be able to tag it on. No, not quite quick enough on the hop around there to get that point. Gods Reborn take the chicken dinner. And the stalemate in second place still stays standing. It is not secure, but the Boars are one step closer to making sure that they do not go out here and now with some fairly middling to poor results in that top bracket.
Yeah, and now we're getting to that stage today where, again, I have to remind people that if Boars here want to get first place, both these next 2 matches have to be chicken dinners, essentially. It's not even a case of they need to have 2 good games in the second place, they need 2 chicken dinners. So I do think right now, Yara Crew pretty much secured themselves a first place spot. So fantastic news for them. For that second place, it's a little bit more daring in terms of Kodiak being able to catch up there. And there's still a lot of movement to be had around 4th to 7th place right now. So a lot can change in terms of that prize pool.
Absolutely. A lot of money on offer for them to see who's going to be able to shake that money tree and get those dollars falling into their pocket. But yeah, I mean, this third place standoff turned into a second place standoff over the course of today. I think that's sort of been the major unfolding storyline here. 19 points for Gods Reborn, and they're kind of joining that standoff now with that match. I think they started this game on 103 points, right? So they are they're kind of quite far off of the Boars, but like within worrying distance, especially with a Rondo coming up. There are a lot of teams who could challenge the Boars with a big Rondo match.
Yeah, sweating distance is what we call it. It's getting a little bit worrying for some of these squads, but here are top players from that match. Tikas here, I think definitely does deserve a big shout out on the side of RP Esports. 8 eliminations that came. He did really well for the squad. I think he was 8 out of the 9 or 10 elims they are able to grab. He was going kind of crazy this match.
Let's take a look at those overall standings. 19 points there, 11 elims, so 8 of the 11 is very impressive coming through for TCAS. And there's 14 points total earned for that team, for LP, to be able to get those away. TBSS as well, 11 points. They have been just doing so well today and continue to be the most improved team that we've seen throughout this tournament. Real big fan of theirs and probably will be bringing it up again. Ooh, okay. Golden Guardians with an entry here. QWERTY makes its way into 5th.
Yeah, I mean, QWERTY has been playing very well. That game for Golden Guardians, not so great, I would say. I think that they're They would also probably talk about how they're getting caught in this engagement in 17-15. And it's a little bit more on 17-15 because they consistently stick around. But at some point, if you're Golden Guardians, you just have to think to yourself, we just have to disengage. If that means wrapping towards the west, we have to wrap towards the west. I think for Boars, they should see that and then wrap away, but also you feel sorry for them a small amount. I don't completely forgive them for that game, but I do feel sorry for them that they have to flow into those two squads on that north side. But at some point, you got to take a look at what's happening and realize that you are the one who needs to change on that front if it's going to keep happening between 17-15 and Golden Guardians. And that was your last iron goal to really switch up there. But we head towards our second page, which we didn't get to talk too much about that first page. I don't think you did. Did you see the points? I didn't see the points.
I didn't screen grab them, but I think it was 122 points coming through from, I believe. Actually, I'm not sure who it was. 122 might have been. Yeah, they might be right at the back of the queue to try and jump up to the Boars on 164. So yeah, the difference from, I think it was second place down to fifth, was in fact 42 points, which with a Rondo coming up, and I can't emphasize this enough, this is the sort of game where you can see 30-point chicken dinners, right? There is that potential waiting, lurking in the shadows for the Boars, but that relies on the Boars going down early, and they stay out of these hot drops. They play from Stadium. I wouldn't be surprised if someone sends over to Stadium with them and tries to ruin their day, especially if 17-15 are going to just drop on top of them and try and guard them out over the bridge like they did last time around, which was, I mean, still kind of baffling in that last game. But that's how it goes, and they lost two players. Couldn't really get too much further.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, Gods Reborn, it's the first game they drop away from Pachinki, and they're like, let's play over towards Rozok, get a much better game off the back of it. So, hey, maybe we should have done this a little bit earlier. But for Gods Reborn, it's a tough one. I don't think they expected Spot Europa to actually drop on them on that last match. I think that's very much out of the ordinary. I think they thought, we won this engagement. They're not going to be doing this on day 3 shortly. But good stuff from Gods Reborn. I think that they've had a fairly good performance throughout the entirety of this tournament. Again, it was always a promising sign, if not an annoying sign, over in the knockouts where they were still doing well despite having so many hot drops. But they do pull some of that dogged behavior through into the finals, which is great to see. Super persistent team.
Absolutely. Great to see these improvements being made across the board, and hopefully with a chance to jump up into second place. There are 4 teams banging down that door to try and take that second place spot that the Boars currently hold with a fairly significant margin, but with 2 more matches to play, can they hold on? We're going to go to a short break. We'll be back with Rondo, a potential difference maker in those standings. We'll see you guys in a few.